TikTok is here. Welcome in. LinkedIn is online. Twitch. And YouTube. Welcome, everyone. My name is John, staff software engineer with 10 plus years of experience. I am the lead maintainer of Latterly.io, which is the website in front of us, an open source educational platform and networking platform that will help you grow your social and professional networks, learn to code, and land your first or next programming role. Today, we are doing some open source web development. We are implementing Latterly perks. What is a perks feature? It will be a wholly new page. It'll be a web page. I don't think any database work is necessary here, so this will be largely front end. And this is based on, or similar to, the Taro perks concept. Many educational platforms will have something like this, where by joining into the community, you have access to basically referral links, and those referral links often come with discounts, sometimes very steep discounts. So here at Taro, you can see that there's a 40% off codecrafters.io. Now, I'm not very familiar with codecrafters.io, but 40% is substantial. I am familiar with interviewing.io, very, very good platform that I recommend in some cases. $50, more modest discount. Sometimes the discounts are more modest, but hey, every dollar counts. That $50 will save you some number of months of Taro membership, I'm not sure. But the point is to enable community members to have access to additional tools and more affordable tools. So even just listing the perk without discount, listing that it's recommended by Taro, is a powerful awareness building technique in your community. When someone says, hey, I have this kind of a problem, you can say, we recommend interviewing.io. We have a partnership with them. It's a trusted source. And a similar thing will happen with Latterly. There are going to be different perks. Some of them will overlap. It'll be curious to see where they overlap. It might just be interviewing. It might just be interviewing.io, maybe Exponent. We'll see if I decide to put one in there. For the purpose of today's stream, to minimize tedium, to make it entertaining for you, I will only do 2 of these links during the stream, and then I'll do the rest of them offline. Okay, so this is giving you the background of what we're building. I have a Codecademy one that I see that they don't list, and my Codecademy does 50% off. So I recommend you use Taro. Here's another thing. Taro won't be listing themselves as a perk, but Latterly will. So I do recommend Taro as a complement. This is not meant to be a substitute or alternative to Taro. I'm a Taro member, and so you'll have access to their perks and the Latterly perks, and there is they're minimally overlapping. So you should have even more tools in your tool chest when this is done. Okay, I'll just do 2 on the stream. I'll do the rest off of the stream. And then how did this come up and how are we going to implement this work? So there is a problem. The problem is that I want to rush this feature, but there is an open pull request on a very different feature, which has a code conflict. So how do we resolve the code conflict? We plan for it ahead of time. Okay, and why am I doing this now? Why am I rushing this? There's basically an awesome Taro Slack post that I want to talk about. And when I talk about it, then I'll basically be pushing people to Taro. And I thought, hey, this is a great opportunity to leverage a Taro referral link. And so that's kind of the motivation to rush this feature, is they've done some cool things that I want to congratulate and brag about them. But when I do that, I'd like to use my referral link. So it bumps this existing perks. This is an existing feature, an existing priority, but it's going to boost that priority. And then the question becomes while we're at it, why don't we do all the referral links instead of just a Taro referral link? I think that makes a lot of sense. And now we get to this stage. We need to merge a partial work in progress PR. So what we're going to do, notice this partial syntax. Instead of closing this previously existing conflicting feature, it's a very different feature. It's a framework migration. Instead of closing and resolving this issue, we are going to merge a partial work in progress PR. It will remain open. Then we will be able to close this 338, a different pull request, and then we will resume. So it's going to be a pause resume pattern with a partial whip PR. Whip meaning work in progress. So this is a thing that happens sometimes, and it's one way to avoid the code conflict is merging a partial PR. Even though it's not complete, you just don't deploy it to production. You might put it behind a feature flag, is common in commercial companies. In this code base, in the Latterly code base, I simply haven't integrated the new code into the deployment process. And so by avoiding that, there's no danger. It's just not included in production yet, and it will continue to not be in production. So the net effect is a bit of a delay on the framework migration. That's like the main effect. And so this is a cost that I'm willing to pay to get the benefit of this like rushed time relevant feature. Okay, so I think that gives you the sort of like background motivation for what we're doing, and let's dive in. So let me open up Cursor here. And if I check my branch, so here I'm in my workspace, I'll CD into the Latterly repo. I can check git branch. And I'm on 341 det blitz app part 2. And this is the same as the draft PR. So what I want to do is wrap up my changes and then move this out of a draft state. Notice that I have like a significant number of changes here. And I'm not really going to bother to fix them all. I'm just going to mark them as to do. The ever famous to do. So you could characterize this as tech-det. I think this is good. I think this file is ready to stage here. Auth, this is, oh, okay. Yeah, so I found the issue and I left this to remind myself where I found it. This is just a type change, that's fine. There's some issue down here. I think I'll let that issue stand. This console, so console logs I don't want to be checking in. So this, I need to determine if I can roll it back or if it's related. So we will work on this. We'll be working on this, cleaning up these changes. Let's see, how much time should I stick on this? I might give this up to, really up to an hour. Hopefully I get it done within 20 minutes, but I'll give it up to an hour. So we'll be focusing on this, and then we'll circle back to the perks feature, which we may do in the same stream. So this could be a longer stream, or we may break it into a two-parter. But it'll be done today either way, guarantee you that. All right, let's dive in. So I want to navigate into my Latterly IO folder. npm run dev. The Latterly IO folder is the recipient of the migration code in this monorepo structure. So we're migrating from Blitz app to the create T3 app. Create T3 app is using this Latterly IO folder name. Bathsheba, thanks for sharing the live. Welcome everyone on TikTok. And I don't see any comments from YouTube yet. TikTok is always beating up YouTube. Poor YouTube. Okay, so we've started on localhost. Let's open it up. On 3000, I think I'm done with this tab. I'll pull the Excalidraw over and retain that. Okay, so this is the forgot password page, which is relevant to the previous work that we were doing. So just a bit of context on the previous work that we're doing. As I said, it's a framework migration, and the ongoing code changes are all related to authentication. So there would be the password reset. There's also like sign up, log in, log out. Those are basically the main ones. Sign up, log in, log out, and password reset are the main 4 features of the authentication that the current feature branch was interested in implementing. Okay, and so howdy. I think I'm a guest. Let me go check. What is my authentication state? So you can see I'm a guest because I have the login option. Now I need to recall what the issue was. Good thing I documented it. Okay, so here is the issue. Login works, but log out doesn't refresh the UI, including the top nav. Let me refresh this page, make sure this is up to date. Okay, so I guess that would be the main issue. Oh yeah, and then why did that happen? Yeah, the reason is, I think, this get user object, so that even after I log in or out, the object is invalid, something like that. So let's go ahead and log in and review. This is basically remembering what was going on last time. Here I have undefined in the get current user. That's actually fine because this is a guest. This is a guest, so the user ID is undefined. So howdy is coming from one of the, its sign up form is, probably we're gonna backlog that and not resolve that currently. Create account page, we can probably backlog that. These ones with the console logs are what is unacceptable to commit in my book. Okay, so this is the session callback, which happens after you log in with Google, I think. So we'll test this. We'll test this, and then there's sign in. Did I put to do here? I think I can revert this file. This makes my logs less verbose. Okay, so here I'm going to comment the current code and save the new code. I'm not going to commit it like this. One of the questions is like, why would you comment code instead of just deleting it? And the answer is for quick rollback. Quick rollback. I don't even want to commit it. It's just a working technique. And so I'm going to move around the site and watch the logs. I think exempting query here was just to quiet the logs because I was having trouble finding these strings in a large wall of text. And if I'm able to easily detect the relevant strings, then I can revert the code and this will be, it will resolve this file basically. Data any seems fine, any seems fine. So this is really the only reason I haven't staged this file. To be clear, our goal is to stage and commit all of these files. That would be wrapping up the branch, then we can move on. 420 likes, nice. Okay. So I'm looking for this data thing, and this is going to happen when I create a session. And this is the laterally migration adapter. So I need to log in to get this. I either need to log in the ordinary way or with Google. Let's just try them both. I don't know. I can't remember it. Can't remember it, and I don't need to remember it. So one way to log in, we will sign in with Google. Okay, and now I hit a callback. And you can see it's returned me to the home page, which is desirable. And my context appears relevant. Yeah, so this is an effective login. It is an effective login. That's my email, by the way. I'm going to obviously do this with my own user instead of exposing others, but feel free to email me there if you want to. I do like personal consultations and stuff. It's not, the consultations are not free. You can sign up to the website for free. The consultations are not free. Actually, my time is pretty expensive, to be honest with you. Okay. I guess that's relative, isn't it? Whatever. You know, if you're someone with a lot of money, I can help you quite a bit. And you won't consider it expensive. But for many juniors, it's pricey. Okay, so you can see the login is no longer here because I am logged in. Oh, right. Forgot password is the case of interest. Forgot password is the case of... I'm remembering what I was doing previously slowly. Did I get this console log is my real question. I want to see data. Data, data, data. I think it's this. Session callback triggered. This is going to be one of my logs. Copy that to my clipboard. It triggers it twice. I think that's an artifact of TRPC architecture. Got the howdy. So this is all going to be over here. auth ts. Oh, there's two auth ts files. This is a router, and this is the service. Okay, it's a router and a service, both named auth. That's fine. That's fine. Oh, no, this is actually the auth options object. Okay, so next auth options. We're coming in through the session here. This looks good. This is exactly what I expect. So you log in, and we create a session. That's working fine. So I think this is not a problem case when I use Google. I think that's what we've established. You see, I'm getting the object properly. Now let's go try to log out, and I'll try to log in without Google. So let me log out. Log in and create account are properly refreshed. So the log out was effective. I can check the logs, but I don't need to. The log out was effective. What did I write on this issue? Login works, but log out doesn't refresh the UI. So I think what we've just established is that this problem case is not with Google Auth. It's with the non-Google Auth. Let's try it again. So now I'll log in. I'll go for the non-Google Auth. I'm going to use the same email, notably. That is one of the major pain points with this migration from Blitz.js to T3. Blitz.js does not have Google login. T3 does have social login. I'm trying to unify them. That's actually a really tricky backend problem. I thought we were going to do mostly front end today, but this is a really tricky backend problem. Is a unified authentication service that can have two sources of truth. So wrangling them into a unified session. This is a problem you sometimes see in SSO, single sign-on scenarios, or advanced social auth scenarios. But it's actually like a lot of juniors are never going to run into this, to be frank with you. This is like a senior level kind of issue. Which is why I'm happy to be doing this stuff in public, frankly. Oh, I wish that didn't show up. Whatever. Great. I just you can send me a letter, I guess. What was my password? Actually don't remember my password. Oh, because I need to reset my password. Yes! Celine Dion. It's all coming back. Okay. 90s kids represent. Okay. So I need to reset my password. Forgot your password? Yeah, bro, I did. What's your email? Here's my email. Can you send me my password? We'll send you an email. On my other screen, I'm going to open my email. Email received. Love to see that. And the password reset token failed. I think this is the current state of the issue. Okay. We know, so I know the location of the bug. And I think this is where I paused it, by the way. So Hemingway has this great thing. Where should you end your work? Why does this keep popping up, dude? Stop showing that stuff. DevTools, fix that. It shouldn't default to the auto, it shouldn't default to that. Okay. Hemingway, when to end work for the day. When do you pause? You don't pause when you're done. Hemingway doesn't encourage that. Hemingway encourages pausing when you know what the next step will be and it's not quite done. And this provides a great onboarding into the working state the next day. So it's this open loop at the end of the day idea. And you get comfortable with ending on an open loop. I think this is a really great career skill, life skill, frankly, because all too often we end on open loops and we're frustrated about that because we couldn't get the thing done. It's going to happen. Instead, you can use it as a tool. You can use it as a tool to launch you into the working state the next time. So anyway, quick tip from Hemingway there. And that's exactly what I did. So I got into the state where my logs indicated where the bug is, and then I stopped, I didn't bother to fix it that day. Maybe it was late in the day. So I said, I'll resume here. I suspect it's around this howdy maybe, or maybe after. So password reset worked. Let me check my link. The token is there. So a token was generated. A reset token was generated but not recognized. Let me go track down this howdy thing. It could be totally unrelated to this. Can you see me? I did not see you. And I would have thought that I would have put a to-do here. Update cursor. We might want to update cursor, but I think I'll do that offline. Should this be protected? Not relevant. This, minimally relevant. Not relevant. Bummer, yeah. So in retrospect, I would have liked to mark it with a to-do. I guess I thought the logs were enough. This is simply importing. So this is not a necessary log. We're loading the auth router properly. That's not helping us. With the password reset is our issue. So let's go for reset. Trigger password reset flow, something around here. Oh. Yeah, that's definitely. So one of the things, if you're having trouble seeing a log, you can create an error. And sometimes your logger on the server will render the error or even return it to the client. It may not print the log, but it will print the error message. So that's what I've done here is I've butchered the message on purpose. This is not a proper message. You can see the yellow indicates that it's an active change. And if I go to my git diff, I will see it as an active change. And I did that to indicate as a log, basically. So throw new trpc error if there's no user. This is not the password reset issue. If not user hashed password, password reset required, please check your email to reset your password. I thought there would just be a function called reset. That's interesting. So there's not a dedicated reset function. Next auth can be a pain to work with. Actually, auth in general can be a pain to work with. And I think we're seeing one of the pain points is when you have a problem resetting your password, it's not super obvious. Am I logged in here? So if I reset my password, I should not have automatically been logged in. Let's look at local storage. Here's my session. I have a CSRF token. Yeah, so what we're seeing is a non-unified session. That's the problem. So I'm trying to unify the Blitz auth session and the T3 session, and it's not unified. Oh no, this is prod. Got it. Yeah, when I reset my password, the email is pointing me to prod, and the token is for localhost. Okay. Let me copy this link address and mutate it. So I'm pasting it here. This is my reset that came to my email. And I'm going to change it to use localhost. By the way, this is moderately dangerous if you're a junior to be streaming this stuff because you really need to be careful. Oh, and it brought me to the password page. You really need to be careful not to expose your credentials. As you've seen, I already exposed my email. I'm fine with that, but many of y'all won't be. So this is a kind of activity that you, when dealing with auth, I would advise junior careers just to not stream this. I'm kind of like doing this, but it's like moderately dangerous in terms of leaking your own info, as we've seen. Okay, it's masked. That's good. So I can make a new password, and let's see if this works. So come over to cursor. let me open the reset password page .tsx under the latterly.io breadcrumb. So this is the page that we're looking at. Pretty simple page, 30 lines. It wraps this form, which is, you know, more lines, but it's still not awful. We got the token. So do I have a token reference? I should. On submit, if the token's not there, let's test this out. I just want to see this token is required. I thought that the token wasn't working, but the truth is that when the token went to prod, it didn't work. But none of this code is on prod, so I wouldn't expect that to work. So I don't know that we've seen the error log yet because we haven't run into the error yet. So here I have an empty token, and I'll put something. Passwords, okay. Good old ABC 1, 2, 3, and a bunch of exclamation points. I'm telling you because I don't expect this to work. So I want to see the error. Will it show on the server? Tokens required. Okay, good. So we're working up to, you see how we're using deduction? I'm looking through the lines of code one by one. I'm trying to spot where is the current issue. We're working up to this line. And then I'm going to call the reset password mutation if I do have the token. And what I'm expecting, this is when I was looking for the reset function. It's here. It's just not a top level function name. Oh yeah, it is. It's a top level function. So, somehow I didn't spot it. That's fine. Yeah, so I was searching through and I ran into it, but I didn't spot it. So this, beginning at line 75 and continuing through the end of the file, this is the function under investigation. So something is wrong with this. So what are we doing here? We are going to get the token, cool. Get the password, and then I enter it twice to make sure that you don't have a typo. So that's this password confirmation. First thing we check to make sure that they match. Good, so let's test that they don't match. Actually, the form shouldn't even let it through if it doesn't match. This will really be validation against somebody that hits the API directly without the form. Okay, then I want to digest the token. So let me undo. So here's the raw token. It's an undigested token. It's hashed. It's hashed and salted. It's secure. In the server code, this is going to look into the database and validate the hashed token. And if it works, I will get a database record. Okay, and so if it's not there, it's saying, hey, you had a bad token, or else either a bad or an expired token. But if we get to here, I have a valid reset token according to the database level validation. Super secure, love it. And if I have this valid hashed password, then we're gonna save the hashed password, not the raw text. We don't want to save the raw password text. So I don't even know other people's passwords. I can open up the database and look, but all I can see is a hashed form. Which is good. Again, good for security. This is protecting users against a malicious administrator. So that's the level of security we're having. Very high level of security. And we save an update. We save it if we've gotten this far. Good, so it looks correct to me. But does it work? It looks correct to me, but does it work? Okay, let's see. So I came to here, now I have the token. Let me put a real password here. Okay. And what happens? Maybe I should add timestamps to this logger, because I don't know if this was just now submitted. That would be a good to-do item. Let me mention that on the issue. To do add timestamps to server logger. So far, I've had no difficulty finding the logs that I care about. I just don't have a log in here. So I will revert this file. I'm comfortable with reverted code at this point. That resolves one more file. Okay. So I want to add a logger in here to see how far am I getting. Am I failing to validate the token for some reason? Well, I didn't get an error. So did I get this far? Let's see. Validated token. Pre-hashing password. So I'll make this log. And I'm clearing my network. What I want to see is I want to see that 200 response. Oh, okay. Somehow I lost my token. All right, let me copy it again. Well, that looks good. Maybe I could update this, go to the homepage style to show that it's more obviously a link, but I think it's fine. What do we see on the server? Validated token pre-hashing password, it's a 200. So it seems that my password update was saved. So let's go to the homepage. And now let's try to log in with email. It works fine. Dude, this autofill keeps popping up. Automatically open this panel. No, don't. What? Okay. Seems like it worked fine. It seems like password reset worked fine. So why do I still see the login option as though I'm not logged in? Reset password worked fine. Here's login. This is something I'm not crazy about TRPC. It's really hard to view the raw response. It's just not really human readable. You know what I mean? It's hard to read this. So this is the TRPC response. It seems to have worked fine. I have a CSRF token, credentials. Don't know what that's doing. I don't know what that's doing. What does my local storage say? So local storage says, and it's hard to read this, but it seems to say that a sign out event was triggered. Okay. And undefined, we're getting the undefined user data. So even though I logged in, we did not create a valid session. Even though I logged in, we did not create a valid session. Okay, so reset is working, is what we've established. Reset is working, and yet I didn't create a valid session. Authorize callback triggers, sign in callback triggered. Okay. I think we don't need these logs anymore. So I think this auth router is working fine. So I'm going to roll back the router. it seems like we are getting to the service and there's no problem with reset. Okay, 2 files down. So something strange is going on here. So we got to the credentials provider. This means the user is providing an email and password. That's what I want. So getting here is a green flag. Unauthorized invalid credentials did not occur. If not a user, this error did not occur. So the user was found. So the user was found. Here's the user. The password match succeeded. Let me also check the database. It looks like my login succeeded so far. On my other page, I'm looking at the database itself. And I see a credentials record. I don't see an updated at timestamp, which is kind of a bummer. I guess I don't care too much. Maybe I'll mention that as a nice to have. It's sort of optional. To do, add timestamps to server logger, and optionally add updated at to account what is this? To the account table. The issue with that is that this is a next auth managed table, so toying with it is like a questionably good idea. Probably it's smarter for me to have an updated at on whatever is joined to this table. Okay, so that would really be a question for my adapter. So here's the migration adapter. This is basically where I integrate next auth with my own stuff. I integrate next auth with my own stuff. And there could be an issue in this adapter. So authorized callback triggered, sign in callback triggered. Okay, so this was also triggered. So this is good. This seems to indicate that the authorization function has no issue. We passed authorization and then we got into the sign-in function, which is later in the flow. And we obtained the user. We obtained the user here. Ah, email is undefined. Okay. Okay, so this is why I'm failing to join, I think. So I was able to log in, but the next auth login doesn't know my email somehow. That's really funny because the user, like I submitted my email into the form, but that didn't get propagated into this method. Okay, so I think that's the gap. Somehow I need to join, I need to pass an email here. Profile is also undefined. I don't know if I care about that. Let me look on my database. Yeah, this is also undefined, but I think that's okay. Wow, and there's my raw text password, so I'll have to reset it again. That's fine. So email is in the credentials. Ah, this is the credential input. this contains credentials .email. This contains credentials.email. So I don't have this email argument, but I do have credentials.email. And do I have the user.email? And I have user.email. Good. So I found the user. Authorized callback triggers. I don't need this anymore. I'll roll this back. I'll roll back the authorize method because it seems to be working fine. So this bit, we'll roll it back. This bit, we'll roll it back. Okay. Authorize is working well. Session callback triggered. We got there. User found the user. And then account has provider account ID. That is not interesting to me. I have user ID. That is interesting to me. I have the user ID. And that's on the user object. Okay, so I think this is my joinable entity. User.id and user.email are joinable columns. So when I want to unify the next auth with the blitz auth, these are the columns that I can use to do it. But this is with the session callback from Google. So I made a note, this seems to work with Google login, but not with credentials login. I added a to-do here. These are joinable columns. So with this statement, these are joinable columns, are joinable and populated. Okay? So I don't think I need these. Let me delete those. And here's existing user. So we found the existing user. We found the existing user account. But do I want the account entity? This is called existing account. Pretty good name. Here's the existing user. So we found the user. User ID and user email are joinable and populated columns. So that's working. And then so this is basically the way to join it. And this bit seems to be succeeding. So I can even delete this line. And what if this is not found? I get some error or something. Okay. I think I should provide like an error if the existing user is not found. So let me add this. Else. User not found, and I don't want to log their email, but I'll log the ID. User not found by email with user ID. And I'll use the interpolation syntax. And we'll return false. I think that's fine for now. Okay, so, and let's say new account created with user ID, so forth, and I want to add the account ID. You can see cursor really jumping around with that tab auto completion really, really well. Okay, so here's the new account.id. New account created with user ID and account ID over here. Cool. Good. So where is the failure point? The failure point is somewhere around here. The account is found. Existing account is found. Whoa, I didn't mean to drag that, sorry. Existing account. So this account is found in my case, and then we failed to generate a session. I'll get rid of this sign in callback triggered. I'll leave the existing user, existing account. Okay, this is all looking good. So the session callback was never triggered, I think, yeah? Let me look in the chat. Oh, bunch of comments in the chat. Welcome, y'all. Aiden, thank you for the follow. SetMC, thank you for the follow. MXN, what theme is this? I think this is the cursor default theme, if I'm not mistaken. Alfredo, welcome. Long time no see. Alex says, what language is this? This is TypeScript. TypeScript. Goblin Girl, thank you for the follow. Great. Yeah, if you're enjoying the video so far, hope you'll follow the page, give it a like, share it with a friend. Okay. So the session is not being generated even though the login succeeds and the account is found. I want to stage this just so that I don't lose where I'm at. I guess this is kind of icky, but I'll do it. I'll add a to-do delete me on all of these temporary logs. 1, 2, 3. That one we want to keep. To-do delete this log. I would not like to really merge this. I just want to commit it. Okay. Okay, and so what is the feature here? The feature is like better logging, basically. Better sign in logging. Sign up form, I'm going to just bypass this. To do, finish migrating this to the new auth system. To do migrate from Blitz to TRPC. Great. just so I can stage it and get rid of it. This one also, to do migrate from Blitz to TRPC, we'll stage that. And this is not really even a feature. Fine. So it's feet broken sign up migration. So we're not going to migrate sign up. We're just going to resume that later. But I do need this sign in to be working. Type this bit. Yeah, this bit is not triggering. To do, delete this log. Also, this is not being called. Okay, so this create session not being called is like a big deal. And I think that will fix the issue. This hash function isn't being used. Okay, so I think we can delete this unused function. So we're down to these two files. We're down to these two files. The sign-in method is finding the account. If there's not an account, we create it. Cool. If there is an account, then I guess we need to create a session, yeah? And that's the part that's being missed. It's just returning true. Seems like that's the wrong thing to do. Use this callback to control if a user is allowed to sign in. Returning true will continue the sign-in flow. Throwing an error or returning a string will stop the flow. And redirect the user. Okay. So maybe instead of false, we should return like user not found. No, I'm not sure I like that. So what if I'm a hacker and I'm just dictionary trying all of the email addresses? I don't want to say like user not found by email. Royal, welcome in, welcome in. Alex, what language is this? I'm not sure if I already answered your question, Alex, but this is TypeScript. I think I'll just return false. Yeah, returning false makes sense. That way I don't say the reason for the authentication failure. I just log it to the server, and then from the client perspective, you can't log in. I'm not telling you why. Yadi says, what do you think of Python Flask? It's okay. I think it's mid. I prefer Fast API. Fast API is the bee's knees. It's like my favorite. But if Fast API didn't exist, then I would reach for Flask if I didn't want a framework. If I just wanted a microservice, I would go for Flask over Django, say. Django, you would go if you want like the whole pre-built authentication and admin and all of that stuff. So it's really nice. So it's a nice microservice option, but it's a second best microservice option is my take. I like Fast API a lot more. Thanks for the question. Thanks for being here. What is this linter talking about? So at this point, I think I have enough context to go talk to ChatGPT or talk to Composer and say like, hey, here's what I noticed. I do kind of want to drop a console log in all of these methods and see if that would help at all. But really the relevant one is the create session. And I'll change this to say entered create session with data. Okay. Slightly better log there, I think. Yadi, thank you for the likes. Yeah, I'm not sure why create session is not being called. Do I need to manually call it? So according to the framework documentation, at least according to this IDE tooltip, this is a next auth extension is what we're dealing with, right? So according to this callback will control if the user is allowed to sign in. So I'm telling them, yes, you should be able to sign in. I'm returning true. If existing user, else. And so I'm returning true, and then the question is like, where does it go? There's some framework call chain that I don't know about. So I'm hoping ChatGPT knows about that. Now what I'm expecting is that it would call create session next, but apparently there are some missing steps that I'm not aware of. So let me bring up Composer. What is it, Control I? Composer, here's auth. It knows about auth. Let me reset it. So you know about auth.ts, and then I'll latterly migration adapter, and I will say the sign-in function appears to return true as expected when signing in using email and password. Yet, I don't see a session on the client. I am expecting the migration adapters create session to be called, but the entered create session log is not logged. What next auth framework method or what is next auth calling after sign in returns true? How can I populate a session to the client? All right, Cursor, do your magic, buddy. Let's see what it said. After sign-in calls true, the next step is typically to create a session for the user. This involves calling the create session method of the adapter. If your create session method is not being called, it might be a few reasons for this. By default, we're using JWT. If you want to use a database session strategy, you need to specify it. That could totally be what's missing, right? Because I am using database tokens. So has it proposed this change? Wow. Dude, if that's it, I'm just going to yet again love Cursor even more if that's the only necessary change. So let me accept this one. No other changes in this file that I see. Okay. What about over here? It just removed part of my log, or like my comment. So I'll reject that one. And then the client-side handling. Yeah, which is fine. It's true that maybe I need to improve my client-side logging. That's true. That's true. But I would like to see some sort of logs on the server indicating that it's at least trying to make a session. I think I just need to try to log in again. Okay, so let's try to log in again. User get current user. What's it returning? And what am I even requesting here? Let me copy this. Copy URL. Invalid response stream. Yeah, see, I'm getting an empty get current user.
I see Daddy's head.
What are you doing, Sam?
I'm just trying to be nice. Okay.
Get current user is let me mark this in case I need to pause here shortly. I hear my kids coming in, so I might need to wrap up soon. The current issue is that pass, reset, and credential login both seem to work, and yet create session doesn't seem to be called, and an empty session is provided to the client. Let's see, what are we at? Over an hour now. Okay, so we'll time box this to 10 more minutes. And there will be a part 2 to work on the perks piece. We're making progress, but we haven't been able to button up this bit, so we'll do a multi-part stream for this feature. But I do want to see that session created. Sanity checking that all these tabs are localhost and I'm not using prod. Yeah, they're localhost, okay. Let's see. Here's the existing account. I still don't see, like, even with the database change, even with this strategy change, I still don't see create session called. What tool am I using here? GPT-4o. Let's see if I can ask GPT-4. Let me give it my package versions. Maybe there's a version difference here. Can drag that in. I'll say note my dependency versions. Does this make a difference? I still don't see the create session method being called at all. If there is no search the web if needed. I'm not sure if Cursor will be able to do this. GPT-4o can. I'm going to include it in the prompt anyway, just to see. Let me know if you are not able to execute web search. And then one more thing I'll do here is, if no obvious next steps are found, advise on additional logging that I can perform. I am not making client-side changes until I can tell that a database that a server-side session is at least being attempted. Server-side session creating server-side session is at least being attempted. And I can check in the database. I think that's sort of, Zero Sum, thank you for the follow. I can check the database as well But it's sort of useless, right? Because how would a session be created in the database if the log statement isn't even passed? In the log statement in the code, if we look at the code, the log statement is prior to the DB creation. So I'll check in the database, but I will be whatever. Okay, let's just check it. I'll be surprised if it's there, but let's just check it. So this is the session table. On my other screen where you can't see, I'm looking at the session table. And these do have created at, so let me sort. Most recently created at. Yeah, I see some sessions, but I don't see any of them with my user ID. Let me refresh this table really quick. Yeah, so there are a couple of people on the website, but none of them are me. Okay. Given your dependency versions, there are a few things to consider. Ensure this version is compatible with your Prisma adapter. Well, it's a custom Prisma adapter, so you're using this. Ensure it's compatible with next auth. I think it is, but fine, I can check that. Okay, the session model in Prisma schema should, this one is an interesting note. Let's add my schema here, the Blitz schema. Here is my schema file. How does it look? There could definitely be an incompatibility there. Whoa, that was so fast. Mostly aligned, but there are a few things to consider. Ensure the session token field is being used correctly. It's mad that I let it to be optional. But I see it's being populated. I'm not sure that's a real issue. Yeah, fine. I could maybe remove the question mark, but it shouldn't create an issue. Relation to the user is set up, which is necessary for linking sessions to users. Okay, so maybe I should be looking in the link method. I wonder if that link method is called prior. It's suggesting that I make sure the migration was initialized. That's fine. So let me also check the link. I have link account, but I don't have a link. User. I have a link account method, which seems to work fine, but I don't have a link user method. Is anything like that needed explicitly? So it suggested some changes to the model, but none of them seem like actually relevant. There isn't a separate link user method. Next auth uses the sign-in callback to determine if the user should be signed in. Yeah, so it's getting initialized. We can see that. It's getting initialized. I'm going to go ahead and just add logs to all these places. Not update, but all my gets. On the linking as well, sure. I don't think that's necessary, but let's do that. Get session and user. I think that cursor is just failing me here, or rather more technically GPT-4o. I think GPT-4o is just sort of failing me here. Adapt session, I could also see this being an issue. Okay. So I'm seeing this session token, EYJH. Now I'm looking in my database for an EYJH. Nope, I don't see any session like that in the database. Is this a JWT? Whoa, oh, killed my server. Sorry about that. I'm going to try to decode this string and see if it's a web token. Okay, so if it is a web token, it must be signed or something. It doesn't look like a valid JWT, which is kind of a good thing because I don't want it to be a JWT. But I didn't see it in the database either, so it's like, where's that thing coming from? One thing I can do here is just clear my local storage. Okay, now let me refresh this. See if I get a new. I have the theme on there. Let's try to log in again. and I don't have a user, and it's not using local storage. That part is good. So it seems like it's trying to use a database strategy, but get current user is sort of falling down. Let me look at that get current user method. Oh, also, why is this true? Existing user, existing account. I return, yeah, currently, maybe that's bad. So the existing user is there or not there. I think I want to move this down. Okay. Quick check on the chat. Oh, thanks for the follow. Grim Y7 BH03 Cole. Thank you so much for the follows, y'all. Okay. And then I want to look at this method which is being called over here. This is get current user. Get current user. This is the blitz app, blitz app, blitz app, laterally IO. Okay. And it does pass undefined every time, even if you're logged in. Okay, that's good to know. So it's fine that the query value is undefined. It's a public procedure, cool. Maybe, yeah, maybe this is just wrong, huh? That looks pretty wrong. If I'm passing undefined every time, there should be a different way. Is this the right way to get current user with database tokens? I think that might be trying to pick it off a JWT strategy. Whoa. Is all of that on there? That's a huge context if all of that's on there. What's the type on this? Session headers DB. Yeah, so the whole Prisma client's on there. Tommy says, where are you from? Originally Austin, currently near DC. Entered get current user with context session. Null. Yeah, so maybe the issue is that I'm like using a hybrid strategy where I want to have this, I want to have my cake and eat it too. I want to have this session object, but I want to use database tokens. And that's like a bad deal. What about headers? So we got all these headers. Here's the cookie. It's a Stripe cookie. There's a next auth CSRF. Oh, here's a next auth session token. There's that EYJ thing. So maybe this session is created. Oh, another thing I can do is I can throw an error in that create session. If it's not logging, maybe I can throw. So here's the adapter. Create session. And let me throw new error not implemented. How about that? Sign in callback completed successfully. Yeah, it's just not calling it. Entered get session and user. Oh ho ho. So I think it's avoiding. No, I think these are independent. Okay, get session and user with session token. Return result question mark user, and then so maybe this bit is messed up. Let's see what that result is. This is a pretty noisy log that I've added over here. Okay, so the result is null. The result is null. So we have a session token, but it's matching to a null session. JavaScript. Well, it's TypeScript, but yeah, pretty close. Thanks, Tiana. So we have a session token. Why am I not seeing it in my database? Oh, yeah, because it's hashed. I think that's the reason. Okay, and now I do see my user ID there now. So here, I shouldn't be using that user ID. I should be using the token somehow. Okay. All right, this will be the last thing that I check out on the current stream. So currently, I try to read the session off ctx.session, but I think this is the JWT approach, isn't it? I see this header, but I'm not using it to look up the current session. In addition, I think that token is hashed. So it needs to be decoded to read from the DB. I can see a session record in my DB with public data that includes my user ID. But we are not retrieving it in the getCurrentUser method. So this is pretty different. This is pretty different. Wow, this is really, really different. I'm going to copy all of this so that I can have two versions. Okay, so I'll just accept all those changes. And on my clipboard, I have the mixed way. No? Okay, so the clipboard there just had the new code. That's a bummer. Okay, so I accepted the changes, and then I grabbed my old comment there. And what I want to ask it, so I really don't even want to ask it. I want to adjust it, yeah. Session token is null. Session token is null. I saw it a moment ago. Maybe the restart killed it. It's right here. It's under cookies. Do I need to say .cookie? Get set cookie. when I print ctx.headers, I see next auth session, and yet is null. I think the type definition for this CTX thing is like messed up somehow. Here's the type context. How can I get a reference to the TRPC context type? Just bringing my old logs along for the ride and basically seeing where cursor goes with this. Export type context. Whoa, it really did a lot here, huh? Export type context. Export type context. Oh, it wants me to make this. It's just asking me to stipulate the type. That's not good, bro. We're going to undo that. I already see the type. I'm just not sure how it is created. Okay, so it wants me to stipulate the type there. I don't know how I really feel about that, but I'll give it a shot. So where are these headers coming from is what I'm... Oh, these are like global node headers. I don't know if my IDE is assuming that, even though it's not true. Well, anyway, I think we found where the issue is. The issue is looking up the session using these headers. I don't want to do that massive stipulation there. I will do this much. Okay, so we think that this is true. It seems to work. So why, let's see. If I print headers, I see it here. I see it right here. Maybe it's because it's a cookie. If I log headers, then I see the value I care about inside the cookie attribute. How can I access it? Okay, so I just have to explicitly get the cookie, eh? And I have to parse cookie. Yeah. So this, it was missing this step all along. The cookie library. I feel like I shouldn't have to do this. But let's see if it works. Let's see if it works. Session not found or user not associated. Okay, so I was able to parse the token this way. So this is the way to parse out the token. But it's hashed, and it's not doing that hash conversion. All right, so I'm going to wrap the stream there, and I'm not going to commit this because I really don't think I like this pattern. I don't think I should have to parse the cookie myself. I think next OS should be doing that. And I'm worried about using cookies at all because there's like, in browser world, there's like cookie deprecation going on. So I'm not sure how future-proof this pattern is. So tune in next time to see what I do.